Hi everyone, my name is Maina Wahome. I am a Kenyan writer by descent, and today I want us to delve on discussing Ndaba Sibanda's novella, and it is called The Immigrant with a Difference. But even before we go to the nitty-gritties in the book, I would like to make my opening statement, which will be my launch pad. I would like to say, the youth not only constitute the future and the liveliness of any nation in the world, but also they represent its foundation and backbone. Therefore, there cannot be a meaningful and genuine talk about freedom and innovation if the youth are not active participants and prized beneficiaries. So that statement will act as my launch pad. And to add to it, I would like to say youth have dreams, youth have destinies, youth have energies, and anyone who is trying to impede the development and advancements among the youth is just trying to trend in a minefield. So let's now go to the book itself, that is The Immigrant with a Difference by Ndaba Sibanda. So, and everyone with me here will agree that the title is the first thing that strikes every reader or every writer for that matter. So, if you look at the denotative meaning of the word immigrant, who is an immigrant? An immigrant is a person who moves to another country where he was not born and settles there. That's an immigrant. That is the denotative meaning of the word immigrant. But the title says an immigrant with a difference. That's why we draw the line. Immigrant with a difference. So this immigrant in this context had a difference from any other immigrant that you may be thinking of or that may be striking your mind. Because this immigrant in this context, to be precise, was a goblin, was a hobgoblin, was an Ntokoloshi. That's how they are referred in the southern part of Africa. I did the critical analysis of this book, and that's why I saw it prudent for me to share it with you. So, what makes this immigrant so unique from any other immigrant? One, if you read the book, you will understand that the physique, the body physique of this immigrant was different from any other human being. And that's why the book says it was half human and half spirit. So, for example, the book says that the immigrant had a single buttock, the immigrant had a mottled neck, the immigrant had hairy legs, and sometimes they were made of scales. The immigrant never wore clothes, and if it did, it was dressed in a cloak. The immigrant walked barefoot. Also, this immigrant was different in the way that it claims prowess and strength in sexual matters. And initially, the Ntokoloshi, or the immigrant with a difference in this case, says that even before it fell into love with one character in the book that I am going to describe later on, called Ledemumba, it says that it fell in love with a maid who was working for Ledemumba. And because of its sexual prowess, allow me to quote directly from the book how the Ntokoloshi says. The book, it says clearly that its sexual prowess could not be matched with any other creature in the world. So, it says, we have a mystic way of making women fall for us, a little charm. I had a girlfriend who also worked for Mumba, cause I am a brass furnace in bed. The maid left in a state of panic, but me thinks she was already pregnant, cause I am a sharp shooter. I'm red hot iron. We have no match when it comes to sexual prowess. How can I put it? Mumba had no choice but to hook up with me. Needless to say, Mumba and I are an item. So that is what this goblin or this immigrant says. And it makes it a different immigrant from any other immigrant that you and me could be thinking of. So, before I go to the book, let's look at characterization in the book, because they have already given the appropriateness of the title. Let's look at the characterization in the book. So the character, the protagonist character in the book, one is Sifo Bongoro, the protagonist. We have Lady Mumba, who was the employer of Sifo Bongoro, and also they fell in love later on. There was an intimate relationship between Lady Mumba and Sifo Bongoro. Then we have Sebekeli, we have Mzwaki, we have Maki, and also we have this goblin, or what we call the Ntokoloshe. So, from what I have told you, you can simply see that from the denotative meaning, this title now brings up what we call the figurative and connotative meaning of the title, which plays a key role in the storyline in the book. It plays a very key role in the storyline in the book, because I've given the difference between the immigrant that you are thinking of and the immigrant in question in this book. So, if you may allow me to start with a brief description of this book, I would like to start by saying that The Immigrant with a Difference, it is set in the southern part of Africa. And the book opens up in the New Year festivities, which have completely lost meaning according to the protagonist character in the book, who is called Sifo Bongoro. So, you will learn later on that these festivities, they were supposed to bring what we call breakthroughs and fortunes in the subsequent years, and that's why people held them at that time. But they have no meaning at all in the present time in Sifo Bongoro's life, who is the main protagonist in the book. So, Sifo Bongoro, who is the protagonist character, tries to make a living. He tries to make a living, but the people's ridicule, the people's comments, the people's conduct really shuns him from achieving anything in life. That's why Sifo Bongoro has taken his time and tries to move into another place, trying to make a living. And the book clearly says that there was heightened levels of poverty. People lived in poverty and penury and anguish. And that's why most people relocated to the Western countries to eke out a living. And from the book, you learn that Sifo Bongoro's compatriots and contemporaries are also not in the country. Allow me to quote from the book what the book says. It says, maybe they migrated to UK, Botswana, Namibia, US, or any other viable land. Even a war-torn one seems to be habitable in search of greener pastures. That tells you that we have a torn country. Sifo Bongoro is in a torn country because he says that even a war-torn country, it would do him a favor or his friends a favor as long as it has greener pastures. That shows you the level of incompetence, the level of poor registration, the level of poor leadership where Sifo Bongoro is. So, also in the book, you learn that the ideal of liberation is a mirage is a practical impossibility that cannot be realized. Reason being, we have poor leadership, we have corruption, we have poor legislation policies, we have punitive laws that hinders the youth from achieving their dreams and destinies. Also that you learn it in The Immigrant with a Difference by Ndaba Sibanda. So, Sifo Bongoro, despite his invitation to the land of kings and queens, or if you may like it, call it Bulawayo, which is in Zimbabwe, to try to make a living and try to suffice his basic necessities of life, this character has lost significance of time. And Sifo Bongoro thinks that life makes a ridicule of him. That is what Sifo Bongoro thinks about. Because no matter how much he tries to make a living, every effort he tries to make proves futile and unrewarding. And that's why he decided to look into the radio of kings and queens to try and make a living there. So, but just like the elders say, never curse a day at dawn. Never curse a day at dawn. Because at the point whereby Sifo Bongoro was almost giving up, he met Lende Mumba. That's the second character. The first character is Sifo Bongoro. The second character is Lende Mumba, who later happened to be the employer of Sifo Bongoro. Lende Mumba employed Sifo Bongoro as a bodyguard in her house, sorry. And because of, we say, persistence, determination, and commitment, always shape a way for every individual in life. If you are determined, if you are focused, if you have the know-how, if you can persevere, that means the future is luminous for you, like the case here of Sifo Bongoro. So, Lede Mumba, who happened to be the bodyguard, who happened to be the employer of Sifo Bongoro, he employed Sifo Bongoro as a bodyguard, is a digital lady. Let me use the word digital lady, because she has embraced the westernization. So, from the description in the book, you see that she's packed of obscene opulence. She is rich. She is stinking rich. She is stupid rich. But the question is, where is the source of the wealth? Where is the source of the wealth? And that is the context. Like, because when you read this book, it will broaden your mind. Because in Africa, if you look in Africa in context, you see that we have so many rich people amidst beggars and poor people. So, because of westernization, or what I may call outlandish lifestyles, Lede Mumba has embraced them. And like I say now and then, every mistake in Europe becomes a fashion in Africa. Because even the mannerism, in the way this already is dressed, speaks a lot. It speaks volumes. The book clearly says that the lady was dressed in lacy shorts, and those lacy shorts, they made Sifo Bongoro, his eyes were like magnet into his elephantine thighs, which came into a point of embrace with one another, and that made Sifo Bongoro lose focus, even when he was approaching Lady Mumba. Allow me to quote from the book how it says, Let me see whether you see any quotation from the book about Lidemumba. It says, Lidemumba is heavily hinged on an expensive, fine-looking, gold-coated garden chair. That shows you this lady was from a well-to-do, class in the society. He's belonged to the well-to-do in the society. Lidemumba was not a proletariat like our character here, who is called Sifo Bongoro. So, once Sifo Bongoro is given work by Lidemumba, Lidemumba has a soft spot for Sifo Bongoro. In simple terms, what I mean is that Lidemumba harbors feelings for Sifo Bongoro. And at a point, it is so interesting in the book that you learn that at a point, Lidemumba tells Sifo Bongoro, do not address me as Lidemumba. And you can imagine, Lidemumba is the employer of Sifo Bongoro. But at a point, she tells Sifo Bongoro that do not address me as Lidemumba. Call me Mona. Or if you like, call me Mona Lisa. So that shows you that, okay, Lidemumba has given Sifo Bongoro the work, yes, but also there is this intimate relationship that is developing between Lidemumba and Sifo Bongoro. So once Sifo Bongoro arrives at Lidemumba's residence, she keeps on complaining about her cousin, who is called Sebekeli, and she thinks that Sebekeli is too mouthy, and she also thinks that Sebekeli has a tongue too. And if I may quote what Sifo Bongoro tells Lidemumba about Sebekeli, he says that his cousin utters these words to him and says, hey, I eat too much. Hey, I finish everything she gives. That is what Sebekeli says about Sifo Bongoro. And Sifo Bongoro also says that the cousin takes him for granted, and she also thinks that Sifo has no liver. So, and she thinks that Sifo cannot reprimand or castigate her for the wrongs that she has done. At a point, you learn also that Sifo is a funny character in the book. At a point when he is asked by Lidemumba what happened to his father, Sifo clearly states that his father died while the maize plants and pumpkins were blooming and tasseling. That is the standard translation. But if I may put it how Sifo Bongoro says it, Sifo Bongoro says that my father died when maize were kicking and pumpkins were vomiting. But to translate to, when they were blooming and blossoming in standard translation. So he says, my biological father, he died 5 years old while the maize was kicking and the pumpkins were vomiting in the fields. And that's what I've said in standard translation. It would equate to when the maize, they were blooming and tasseling. So the maize plants and pumpkins, they were blooming and tasseling. That is in the standard translation. But from what Sifo Bongoro puts it, what we call unstandard English, but it brings out the story alive. So, at a point when Sifo Bongoro is living with Lidemumba, he thinks that Lidemumba is not loyal at all. He thinks that Lidemumba practices infidelity because, or in simple terms, he thinks that Lidemumba has a boyfriend. Why is this so? Because from the book, if you read the book, you understand that Sifo Bongoro says that at night he could hear some inaudible sounds emanating from the loom or the bedroom of Lady Muba. So, and what he heard from the conversation between the two people in the bedroom is these words, and I quote them: I care about you. Yes, I confess I was going out with the minister, but so those that conversation made Sifo Bogoro believe that Lady Mumba had a boyfriend. So Sifo Bongoro, when he goes to bed, he reminisces or remembers about Lady Mumba and how he got him out of his financial mess. And he remembers vividly how he attended a party that looks like a billionaire's evening party. And people are dressed immaculately with designer suits and drove heavy duty machines, or what I may call big cars. So he suggested that those guys, they portray some arrogance and some brazenness, if I may call it, according to their conduct and their words. That is what Sifo Bongoro thinks about the evening party that was held, that he attended, that looks like a billionaire's evening party. So, at a point, you read these words that are coming from an employer, and let me say an employer come lover, who is Lady Mumba to Sifo Bongoro. And she says, your body, oh boy, I feel like licking up, and I feel like licking you up like a chocolate bar. Please make me feel like a girl again. He also says that if you fall in love with me, that is what Lady Mumba tells Sifo Bongoro. She tells her, God is my first name. So Lady Mumba was after all that, I'm looking for that quotation whereby Lady Mumba tells Sifo Bongoro about okay, leave it because I don't have the quotation here. But if we advance in discussing about the book, Lady Mumba plans to go out and no, even before the Lady Mumba tries to go out, Sifo Bongoro, in the billionaire's party, he remembers when he was about to take a drink by a guy, and he said he was a teetotaler, and he belonged to the member of Zionist Bakonzi Bekinso's church. The man termed Sifo Bongoro as stupid and as a rustic pumpkin. So the whole conversation in the book tries to tell you how greed and material wealth, snobbish lifestyle have taken even humanity from the people, if you read the book clearly. So Lady Mumba lives dressed immaculately in a dazzling grace, but before she leaves, she tells Sifo Bongoro about where to get the food if she ever feels pangs of hunger. She directs him where to get the food. But no sooner had Lady Mumba left than the goblin appears. And from the book itself, we clearly see that this goblin appears much to the consternation, much to the confusion, and much to the subjection of an innocent man who is called Sifo Bongoro, who never knew about the goblin or the hobgoblin. So, and this drama, the whole drama about the encounter between the goblin and Sifo Bongoro happens in the posh house of Redemumba. So, you clearly see that there is a wrestling match, in quote, a wrestling match or a scuffle, a fight between the goblin and Sifo Bongoro. But this animal or this creature, this goblin is too powerful for Sifo Bongoro. And the creature is mightier than Sifo Bongoro. So, after realizing that Sifo Bongoro could not match it, the goblin, he produces a throated chuckle or a giggle or a silly laugh at Sifo Bongoro when he saw Sifo Bongoro on the ground pleading for leniency and mercy. So, the whole scuffle or physical encounter is quite unpleasing and uncalled for. And in that context, you see that the goblin is totally alien. It's totally weird. Its weirdness and waywardness was were alarming. When you read the text, you understand that. So, it's even prudent to acknowledge that this goblin probably could have originated from the outer space, because it's not a normal human being. The book clearly says that it is half human and it is half spirit. And this is what the goblin tells Sifo Bongoro: we can be visible and invisible at will. I'm a jealous, lascivious, and dangerous man. Jealous that you don't mess with my wife. You don't mess with our relationship by hook or crook. Which relationship now? The relationship between the goblin and Redemumba, whereby Sifo Bongoro has come as a third party. That is why the goblin is warning Sifo Bongoro. So, at a point, the goblin laments and makes a lot of disappointments about Redemumba, because it confirms that Redemumba has betrayed the goblin. After bringing all the opulence or all the wealth that this woman prides and parades in daily life, Redemumba has turned against the goblin. So, the goblin accuses Redemumba of being ungrateful, of being disrespectful, and more so, it says that Redemumba is dangerous, is a woman who cannot be trusted. That is why the goblin is lamenting. So, however, when the book is coming to an end, the goblin gives a kind gesture to Sifo Bongoro. And what happens is that it leaves Sifo Bongoro with a crisp of notes, which has some US dollars, as it walks on its way out of the colorful and the computerized gate. It leaves Sifo Bongoro alone. However, it makes a demand to Sifo Bongoro that the what happened or what transpired should always remain a secret, and any revelation of what had transpired to Redemumba, the consequences were dire. So there was no room for recklessness or carelessness. when handling the information. So simply, that is the overview of that book that is called The Immigrant with a Difference by Ndaba Sibanda. So if you'd like to, for any comments, I'm waiting for your comments about the book, or how you can get the book, or how you saw the book in your own overview, because now I've given you the gist of the book. Thank you very much for listening.